Welcome to Stampscaping 101. I'm kind of composing an idea for a card here on a elongated, let's see what this is, 4¼ by 11" scene. Doing it this way because I plan on utilizing a lot of space for some sky. I want to do a kind of a crystal rhinestone kind of depiction of Orion up here. And I thought I would do some kind of wintry type of scenario down here at the base. So I needed, quite a bit of space for that. And I thought the silver cardstock would be interesting to play around with. I don't know, I've been using this for a while now, but I'm still learning a lot of the different properties and media combinations that can be done on here, most recently with the kind of the reverse impression style of techniques in here. I don't know if I'm going to do it on this one, but let's see how this one goes here. Okay, so my concept here is kind of a snowy base down here. I plan on utilizing the snowy bank right here and the Lakeside Cove, but I think I'm just going to use the top portion of the Lakeside Cove up here. But we'll see how this goes. I mean, I was talking about doing that reverse impression type of thing. I could go with all black up top here and then stamp this into it, and it should give me the reverse out of these trees here. I don't know if that's going to show up enough, though, against the silver background. Well, I'll have the black on it as well. Okay, so anyways, on this type of paper here, the silver foil isn't like the holographic paper, this is much more sealed off in terms of being less porous. So this one, everything dries on here much slower. So, all these different papers have to be kind of seen as kind of different entities, okay, in terms of the drying time on them. I didn't realize it, but the holographic paper that I've been using really dries, I don't know, at a pretty decent rate. It's maybe overnight to be completely dried, and I'm talking about just air drying, and that, of course, that's this time of year right now. The air outside is fairly dry and warm. But I don't know, it could change, due to the weather. All right, so adding this down. Now, did I mention the Brilliance inks will dry on here, but albeit slowly, okay? Brilliance is by a Tsukineko type pad brand, line of pads. And they are designed to dry on this glossy cardstock. Now, people have asked me about the drying time, sealants, etc. And I haven't really sealed on here. I think it would put the material back into solution if you were to seal it off. But you can go with a very light spray. I'll try an experiment on it sometime. But anyways, what I'm doing here is, if you haven't watched my previous videos where I mentioned blocking out, I'm blocking out some of this surface of this silver paper here. I do want the silverness of it, and I might want some of it being reflected through kind of the more translucent layers. You can see it through this this white ink here. So the white ink isn't getting completely opaque, okay? You might be able to build it up enough, but most of the times, if you start building up on this type of paper too much, what you end up doing is kind of removing ink. Now, I did just re-ink this pad, so I'm getting a pretty decent amount of coverage here. You can see me kind of twirling sometimes. I don't know, I'm just experimenting around with some different textures on this paper, or I don't know, whatever you call it, foil, board, whatever. All right, so still learning about it, still, I don't know, I'm still trying to figure things out. each step of the way, each experiment that I do. And I don't know, it's one of those things, you try to bring something different or new, you know, each time you do a new piece, right? Okay, so let's try to add some of this black up here now, okay? I plan on playing around with some of these crystals here for stars. I have some different colors now. And I thought those would be interesting against this silver background. But what we'll do is we'll add a little bit of the this black on here. Okay. Now this black isn't going on very well for me. It's I thought I just re-inked this, but maybe it needs a little bit more. I'm going to get a pretty decent amount of ink on there. And one of the things I notice is when I start scraping off the top, I think I start scraping off some of the cotton residue from utilizing a cotton ball on it. You know, you can't necessarily see fibers of the cotton coming off on there when you're doing it, but when I scrape it like that, it kind of bunches up and you know, you get a little bit of the cotton fibers on there. Okay, so let's see. Yeah, that's going on much better. It's like shoe polish or something like that. And when you're holding a cotton ball like this, I do feel like I'm getting kind of my fingers kind of coming through. Maybe I'll double ball it like that. Okay, and I'll just kind of tap it around like so. I don't know if that's really helping. It's just kind of negating some of my fingers kind of going through here. This is I have some really cheap cotton balls. I need to go out and get I don't know, maybe a name brand pack of them. Okay, I think they'll be thicker. But yeah, when I tap down my finger right there, it's putting pressure onto the cotton ball and it's kind of removing some ink. All right. Now, yeah, someone mentioned the little fibers of the cotton ball, and I mentioned, well, I don't notice it. But when I look closely, I guess, yeah, some fibers of the cotton ball are coming off, but it just kind of, you know, they're so thin. It just kind of mixes in with the background. Most of the times I don't even notice it because I'm getting a kind of a textured surface on it here anyway. And they just kind of blend in with the surface. And then pigment inks like this are thick, so yeah, it's not really not a entirely noticeable texture, you know, a little fiber of cotton, you know, mixed in with the ink. But yeah, I definitely see some little fibers around now. I don't know, in some papers I don't see it at all. Maybe like on a startering paper, but on this very mirrored, reflective silver paper, you can definitely see some. All right, so adding in here, just kind of adding down. There might be some other types of materials too, besides cotton. Maybe you have like a rag or something like that you can use. I think that would be a pretty good choice there. Maybe kind of a sea sponge or something like that. I could see that working pretty good. Maybe getting some additional types of textures might be interesting with that. And I'll come right down here, right into the white. I don't have a really strong concept in terms of how this is going to look, but we'll see how it goes. Or maybe I should leave that a little bit lighter down here. Maybe I'll transition it a little bit more after I get some of this laid down. I'll add some I don't know, kind of reverse application or reverse marks into the black. And I'll show you what I mean by that. Okay, so we have that. Now let's take a dry cotton ball right here. And you see this? I mean, this is by no means like some kind of a really smooth, even application. Now, see, I just touched it right there, and it really removed some of that ink. But here you have it, that black. It's real blotchy and everything. But let's go in here and just remove some of this ink right here. Maybe I'll remove it from the center. I don't know. I'll just blend this a little bit. That looks pretty good, actually. It's a pretty smooth blend, surprisingly so. I'm just barely touching it. I'm trying to give it a very light removal of ink, or blending, I guess you can say, too. That's kind of interesting in terms of the texturing. Okay, let me see what that looks like here, the striations. I think I wouldn't mind. I think that black looks pretty good down here too, so let's just kind of bring some of that down into here. I usually like doing a little bit of a, or a lot of a, vignette. Can't think of the word. Well, I'm really pleased with that right here. This kind of blending right here. See, right there. I think that looks pretty good. And I do like that. There's kind of like ghostly little textures in there. Okay. Let's go and get some more of this black from up here. All right, now here's one of the things I noticed. I do feel like as I ran the cotton ball down here, it felt different than doing it up here now that this has been allowed to set for another minute or two. So it feels a little bit different. It's stickier, okay, which tells me that the ink is setting up. Now, it's not by any means dry or anything like that. You can still see I'm still able to kind of move it around easily. So just use a really light touch, or I don't know. I mean, maybe you can go for like this German expressionism, type of, the scream type of motion in, your pieces too. If you kind of, get this stuff wired and kind of figure it out. Me, I don't have it figured out at all. But learning each step of the way. Or trying to, at least. I'm generally a pretty slow learner. But when I learn something, I kind of internalize it a little bit and try to get it wired. Okay. So I've streaked in, I've kind of blended things. I really like this base area right here. Look at that. See that? Doesn't it kind of look nice and amorphic or whatever? And here's the top. I know it's really hard to tell up here. Let's try something up there on the top part. I came in with black into white down here. Let's try a little bit white into black up top there, okay? Let's see how that'll work. I don't think it'll work very good, but let's see if we can get any kind of blend in there at all, okay? So I'll just take some white like this. Let's see how this goes. I can't really tell if I'm applying white or if I'm just removing black, revealing the silver. I think there is some white up there. Okay, now you can't go back in with this into the black, so here's the thing about this. Just kind of fold it over and grab some more white, I guess. Like so, yeah, I guess it is kind of getting a bit of a grayish tinge. For some interesting effects. We'll see if I just completely eradicate the you know, the nature of the surface and the silver, if we can see it at all. I don't know if I want to get it to the point where it could just be any color underneath, you know, because it's just so coated with this ink. But I do think the silver is showing through quite a lot. Yeah, see, these are really cheap cotton balls. Look at this one right here. Brand new one. Yeah, it's just a cheap pack. I was just at some grocery store and I wanted to pick some up. I was going to go over to a place like Target or something and pick up some cotton balls, but it was like, oh, they have them at this little grocery store here, so it's going to save me a trip. All right. I do like those formations in there. Look at that. It's kind of cool. Let me try to get it where it's just not on just the side of the edges of the card, but let's try to go in on the interior here a little bit more. It's kind of funny when the technique or process is just about as much about removing ink as it is applying the ink. I feel like I'm spending as much time here as I did with the cotton balls and you know, the black and white ink. I'm kind of removing the ink here. I know I applied some of it to this, but it's also kind of removing a good portion of it. Okay, so that is that. All right, now I am hoping that I can get some pretty decent impressions on here. But let's heat set it a little bit just to, I wouldn't say make sure, but maybe just give it a little bit more of a, you know, possibility of the ink transferring onto here than not, you know, heat setting it at all. Definitely tell it's foil because of all that curling that happens. And this is what drives me nuts right here, is getting that big curl in there. This foil really curls like that a lot. It was curled, in fact, when before I even started this. Okay, I'm getting some fingerprints, and it's really removing a lot of that ink quite a bit. Let's try to get this as flat as we can here. The counter curling is working to an extent. It's a little bowed now. Okay, so let's try some things here. Let's try that dried pretty well on there. Now, if I touch this, that ink's coming right off. But the thing is, what I've found is, if I let this set for a while longer, okay, I just throw it up on the shelf or something like that, and allow it to sit, or set, I guess, it does dry. It, at least on my experiments, it fixes on the surface better, you know, the longer you let it set, okay? But that being said, like I said before, I would allow it to, I don't know, kind of cure or whatever, and I don't know. If you're going to mail this, you know, I would throw it in a cello bag or envelope or whatever you call those things. Okay, I'm just going to use I'm not really going to stamp this as a lake this time. I'm going to stamp it as just kind of these rocks. right up here, okay, without the reflections in here. Again, this will just be, I don't know, whatever snow or whatever down below. Okay, so as far as positioning goes, we'll go about like so. I'll stamp it a little bit under the midway point just so it's not so kind of symmetrical from top to bottom. I'd stamp it lower and go kind of rule of thirds, but I want to stamp some other imagery down below, so I'm just thinking about some wolves. Okay, so hoping this ink transfers, we'll see. Use plenty of pressure, left, right, center, top, bottom. I guess there's not very much to a bottom of this one this time because I'm not stamping the reflections. All right, let's take a look here and see if that shows pretty good. It transferred pretty decently, okay. Now I stamped it in a dark area so it doesn't show up too much, so it's more of this kind of a background tree line, I would say. Yeah, stamping it a little bit lower, the rocks would have shown up a little bit better, but that's okay. I can just stamp this in here anyways, or that's what I plan to do anyway. Remember, any type of lake type of environment or something like that, I designed my stamps to be used in many different ways. If it's a lake, you know, it's usually depicted as a watery surface by the reflection, so if you don't stamp the reflection part of it, then it certainly can become just a, you know, an area of land, you know, a non-water element. Okay, I'm kind of wiping off the bottom here because I want that to transition down here a little bit. And I'm going to stamp this. I'm going to stamp it right into those rocks up top there. The Lakeside Cove large is fairly dark, so, you know, you're just kind of overlapping right into it. So it just becomes kind of rocks in the background. Then we have this bank of snow right here. Okay. Just like that. See that? Look at that sky up there. It's going to be a perfect little spot for some glistening stars, hopefully. You never know for sure. You're kind of experimenting around. All right, I have my little fingerprints up here from touching this area. Just fill it right back in. Okay, well, let's see. I'm kind of tempted to do this again right in here, but I think we'll just leave it as is. All right, and let's add these wolves down below. Hopefully the wolves will be kind of a nice dramatic element. It'd be interesting to stamp the wolves in silver or something like that, or even try a reverse stamping into here. I don't think I want to do that, though. I think I want them bolder and black down here. Let's see how this transfers. If it transfers well, I think it's, you know, I think the heat setting helped, or would have helped. It looks pretty good. They're a little bit blotchy. See, it's where you're stamping wet ink into kind of semi-wet ink, but you can just dab in, you know, some additional ink with some that pigment ink there. All right, and I don't know. I always like using this smaller version of it, these wolves, in conjunction with the larger ones. I think it's kind of cool as a, and it kind of rounds out the pack. Smaller ones you stamp higher up in the composition because they represent something farther away. All right, so I got a pretty good impression out of that right there. I don't know. Okay, let's see here. Let's do a little bit of a patchwork down here. Let me try to get within the field of view. Working with these large scenes. I'm running out of room on my table here, or I'm always out of room, so. Okay, just get some ink like this and fill in a little bit more, like so. Okay. I don't need it to fill in completely, but yeah, let's get some of those larger kind of blotchy areas out of there. It's what they call kind of this fisheye type of thing, when you're stamping out and that ink's kind of getting squeezed around like that underneath the stamp. And you're kind of stamping. When you're stamping on this type of surface, it's almost like you're stamping on glass, so it's like liquid under something really, semi-non-porous. Okay, there we go with that. This is what we're looking at right here. Okay. So it looks pretty distant, doesn't it? Doesn't that look like it's really far back in the distance? And I mean, that's kind of a good sign when you can use the exact same ink for something that represents something much farther away than something in the foreground like that. I mean, that even seems like a lighter impression, but it really isn't. Okay, so let's see here. Okay, I thought we would go for a specific constellation up there. I don't know, when you kind of work around specifics like that, sometimes it reads nicely. It reads nicely on the card, so okay, now I have my computer right here, and up on the screen I have Orion. It's one of the stronger, kind of most, I don't know, easily spotted constellations, because you get these three stars in a row, then, in the belt and the sword, so it's kind of easy to replicate. Okay, so let's see here. I was going to do it in the white paint pen here, but let me do it on, I'm just going to take, I never use this thing. This came with my rhinestones to pick them up, but I don't use this. So I'm going to use this one just to give me kind of a general layout of Orion. So like that. And then we'll go 1, 2, 3. I don't know if the whole constellation is going to fit on here. And then 1, 2, 3, and let's go down here and here. I don't know. The proportions might be off, but I'll live with it. All right. And now I know you can't see what I just did here, but I just kind of did these little tiny dots. I thought it would kind of do a little reverse mark into the into that ink. It didn't leave much of a mark, but I can kind of see it, at an angle. Yeah, you can see that little dot there. Okay. All right. So I'm going to reiterate the stars here with my paint pen. This acrylic paint pen writes on anything. Okay, there's the belt. I should have made it a little bit wider. I mean, I still can, but and we'll just go like this. I don't know. I'm squishing it in here because it probably doesn't fit too well. But all right, now let me go a little bit larger here. All right, can you see the constellation up there now? We're going to change all this. Well, not change it, but we're going to kind of embellish this whole thing here. Now, one of the things I haven't been doing with my crystals, I've just been adding them up in areas, but one of the things I'd like to do that I haven't really played around with, at least too much, I might have done it once or twice, is I like to make some stars kind of glow, so you take some white pigment ink like this, and you want to kind of dry tap it in. So in other words, don't have just a gigantic blob of ink on here. You're not going to make kind of a star look like it's glowing. You're just going to make it look like a blob of paint, okay? So you just remove a lot of paint off of your applicator like this, okay? And sometimes it's hard to see. Like, I'll just tap it on a little, impression of my wolf there so I can see how much I'm really kind of transferring. Now here's my question though too here is as I kind of dab this down here, I'm usually dabbing it onto like dye based inks or something that's affixed to the paper, but this is really kind of, it's not really affixed yet, the inks here. Gosh, my cotton ball's really kind of, my cotton at the end of this is really fraying. Okay, so just kind of dab it down a little bit. Okay, so do you see that? Yeah, you can see that in the camera. So glowing, this one's a big glowing star right here. Okay, let's hit the belt. The belt stars, that represents Orion's belt right there. And there's another little star up here. Okay. And here's the sword. In the sword, there's the, there's the Orion Nebula, which is a really fantastic sky figure. Okay, so there we have it right here, kind of the glowing Orion. Let's see, this one's a little bit bigger as well, so let's go with the bigger glow here. I don't know. This one up here should be a red crystal, but I don't have that. Okay, so we have this going on. All right, now let's have a lot of fun here. Should we, I wonder if I should add my crystals now or if I should do it after the splatter painting. I'm not sure. Oh, let's add something else here, if I can. It's always kind of hard. I don't know if I could do this or not. I'm going to add my paint pen here, but I'm, writing with paint pen over this kind of wet, dry, in the process of drying it. Okay, yeah, it goes on pretty well. So I'm just adding some of this down on some of these forms in here. You see that? That works out pretty good, that paint pen. I'm going to try something here. As I'm adding that down, those little textures, I'm going to try to add the tiny rock stamp. Okay, let's take off a lot of the ink out of it, usually doing it in black. But let's try stamping some of this in white ink. Okay. Let's see if how that looks. That looks pretty good. Let's see, can you see that right in there? See how it's just adding that texture down here? Another usage for this stamp here. Kind of ghost it off and get kind of lighter impressions of it as well. I have two different sizes. Maybe the larger size would look good in here too, but I don't feel like going and grabbing it right now. Okay, so anyways, there's some texture down there. It just, I don't know, it just kind of breaks up the monotony as far as the textural pattern goes. Okay, like that. See, it's kind of reflective too. Like that. See it back up in here. So there's stronger and then kind of lighter ones out there. See that really light one in here? Oh, let's try a reverse mark. Let's see if it'll work. Let's go with a completely dry impression into this area right. Yeah, let's go down here. I would say it lifted a little bit. Maybe it's heat set too much there. It didn't really lift off too much. Okay, let's see. There's a. I don't know if you can see that tiny little impression in there. You know what I mean? It's barely discernible when you're looking at something like at arm's distance like that. All right. So playing around with all these different types of techniques, the reverse mark and whatnot. Okay, let's see. And as you're working on, with pigment inks like this on these types of surfaces. Now, if you're doing this on glossy cardstock, it's going to dry really fast, or just cardstock, okay? It's going to be a completely different experience. But on this, you're always dealing with kind of wet, a wet surface, so you're going to have to go back in and kind of do some touch-ups periodically, or maybe all the time. Where you've touched an area and it's removed the ink. All right, so there we have that. All right, I think I'm going to... Let's add the crystals right now, too. Okay, so if I add the crystals right now, then I can kind of adjust the amount of kind of splatter painting I do in here, because I'll be able to tell, what the piece is going to look like with the crystals if they're already in there, In other words, I don't want to make it look too busy. Like if I spray pattern in here, and then when I start adding the crystals, it's just too much. I can't really remove, the splatter painting, but if I do these first, then I can, adjust accordingly. All right, so you know what I'm going to do here? I've been adding in ink like this. I'm going to put a big dollop of glue right here that I can just dip into. I have this pin right here for kind of poking in. Oops. I just removed that. My pin's stuck in there. Okay, there, I got it out with it. Okay, I didn't think I'd be able to get it back out. I'm just going to put a little dollop of ink on my pin head here and see if that works as far as an applicator. Because this glue is just so thick. Yeah, this is working pretty good. When I'm squeezing it out of that bottle, sometimes I get too much applied, and then I'm kind of applying the crystal into a gigantic glob of ink. It's almost like floating. So this might work a little bit better. I don't know. I should probably get some glue, so I'm not using like a 15-year-old bottle. Okay, this one here is going to be a little bit of a larger crystal, so I'll put a little bit more glue here. This pin's working great because I can kind of spread it around too if I want to. All right, so that looks pretty good right there. All right, my new crystal technique with my pin there. Pin at the ready. All right. All right, where did it go? I'm looking for my crystal, a double-sided crystal picker. Oh, it's always right where I think it should be, but I can't see it. Okay, so let's make these ones kind of prominent. There's There's about 6 different sizes of crystals here. Let's say this is going to be competing with visually with some splatter painted stars, so I'll go fairly large with some of these. All right, my crystal picker, I need to clean it off with a little water. There's a little rubber tip on here. You know, when I touch it and stuff, it gets kind of oils of my finger on there, so the instructions were to just kind of wash it off like this, you know, and just get it clean. And then it's nice and kind of rubber tacky, you know, again. Okay, let's see if this works. Oh, no problem. Okay. It's not completely dry, though, but... Oh, yeah, it's working real good. I just picked up 2. Okay, this is like an aquamarine tinged crystal. Oops. So let's go with a blue one down here. I mean, it's going to be kind of blue and clear crystals. This one right here, I wish I had kind of a warmer crystal. Well, I guess I can go with the gold. I don't know if I want to do that, though. This crystal's a little bit too big. I want some of that kind of glow. Maybe I should have put a larger kind of glow around this because I'm kind of covering up a lot of that. But, I guess I don't need to. Trying to decide other colors here. Let's go with the clear here. I figured these clear crystals would be. I mean, there's like 2,000 of them in here. You know, people use it for their nails, nail design. I think for the most part, that was one of the photos for these crystals online in terms of usage. And I'll never use as much as, you know, kind of, you know, my utilization of them, but I don't know. I could see myself, you know, getting pretty low on this after a while. All right, so once again, kind of a little bit larger than what I was thinking, but I think, like I said, it's going to be competing a little bit with... All right, I think that's not going to be reflective enough. I was going to go with the gold. I really need like an amber or something like that color. Let's go with a fairly large one right here. It'll be kind of a focal point in the sky. And let's do... Now let's go with this one right here. Okay, so the sword crystals are all kind of the same size. And that glue's not setting up so fast that you can kind of readjust. Alright, so there's my kind of Orion nebula right here. Alright. And, you know, a couple different colors up there. Now that looks, I know, it looks really weird as is, but let's take a look and see what that will look like with some additional texturing up there, or actually over the whole thing. Okay, let's spread this out. I need to watch out for that glob of glue there. Okay. Spreading this out. Dr. Martin's Bleed Proof White. And an old toothbrush. Oh, looks like I need some water in here. You need to kind of mix this up every time you use it. You know, you don't need the whole bottle in solution. You just want to mix up enough to, you know, which is, for my purposes, very little. And just get it into kind of a thick, well, I don't know, maybe just like a syrup consistency. You know, like about like so. Kind of like an Elmer's glue consistency. Maybe that's a good kind of description of it. Okay, I'm not going to waste the one on here. Let's get that on the brush tip right there. And let's get a little bit more in here too. Okay. My bottle here is getting pretty low. One bottle really goes a long way, so I'm hardly ever utilizing kind of an empty, semi-empty bottle. All right. So this is going to represent stars and snow, because I plan on putting it down here as well, so let's have some fun. Sometimes this is, you know, in terms of just, I don't know, kind of a youthful type of, I don't know, fun, you know, in terms of like a craft project, it's splatter painting. It really takes you back to like kindergarten or something like that. And you just release a few little drops at a time, or not drops, but hairs of this at a time. And then you just kind of reload. I never do a full kind of run through, like, I never go zip. I just kind of go little at a time, little at a time, little at a time, okay? Now some of this is going to go in front or over the top of the wolves as well. And where it's up here, probably represents some stars as well as snow. Ideally, I get kind of a little bit of a mixed bag, you know. I get some real fine drops and then occasionally some larger ones, and I think that's good for variation. I don't want a big blob, of course, though. All right, so we have that. Now, one of the things that's standing out to me is that the stars are kind of out of proportion in terms of the crystal representation of stars. So, the thing that I'm going to do is to hand render in some additional stars that are a little bit closer to the size, at least, of the crystals in here, okay? See how big they are? So, we'll just go back to our white paint pen, or you can do like a silver pen as well. That would be really fantastic in here to have some silver embellishment. Okay. And you just come in here and just, you know, just do a few larger stars here and there. Oops, I'm getting right into that glob of paint glue there. Let's move that out of the way. Working with this type of surface and ink combination it's really some goopy kind of inky sloppy fun here. I do get my hands pretty inky. speaking of that silver pen, let's grab a silver one. I have so many different colors now with my, I keep forgetting how many pens came in this set here. Oops. 42 paint pens. They're metallic, are all different types of colors. I'm not sure which one. I guess this is a gray and this is a silver, maybe? But they're all the same kind of make as the the Miaosun ones, so I think they're the same company. I keep mentioning that every time someone asks me. It's my, I don't know if it's a conspiracy thing, but I don't know. They look the same, but that being said, the Miaosun one, my white paint pen here works great. So if they're all kind of coming out of the same factory, but just branded differently, that's a good sign, because that means, you know, it's probably a pen that we can depend on and it'll work. I don't have any problem with my Miaosun ones, and when I use them up to, you know, to the point where they're completely dry, so they don't clog on me, which, you know, is really drives me nuts. But that's more of the gel pen type of thing. Although with the newer gel pens are really fantastic too. If I have a pen that's in both gel and paint, I tend to use the paint though, because I figure it transfers onto the surfaces a little bit easier than a roller style gel pen. Okay. All right, so this is silver. Silver is a darker color than white, but when it reflects the light back at the viewer, it does seem lighter than white because it's just so reflective. Okay. All right, so I don't know. I kind of went crazy with all this texturing in the sky, but I don't know. I kind of wanted to incorporate that, you know, that Orion into the surface a little bit more. Okay, let's see if we can see some of that silver. I'm looking at it myself, I can't see. Alright, I think those 3 dots are silver. I don't know, they're all kind of standing out pretty good. I can see it right here. You know, they stand out a little bit. See, like those 3 right there. See, here's the white, but kind of when you reflect that, like at that angle, you can see which ones are silver right there. Okay, and then the white kind of, I don't know, the white ones, don't they seem like they're kind of farther back in the distance? You know, the white, I mean, they're smaller too, but that white, the Dr. Martin's Bleed Proof white splatter painting, I don't know, it doesn't, I think it looks like a little bit of a deeper sky like that. No, I don't mind that Lakeside Cove being so kind of deep. It's almost kind of obscure like that, but then when you bring it up like that, it, you know, it really kind of, I don't know, I wouldn't say it really projects out of the background, but I don't know, you can see it back there, you know, it comes out. And then we have our wolves down here, so kind of Orion wolves, but look at those crystals like that, you know? Kind of shimmering and shiny like that. So anyways, I don't know, that stuff to me is really fun. I mean, this is the type of card, you know, I mean, you can give it to anyone or whatnot, but if you give it to like a kid, you know, that's kind of my litmus test of kind of what I project, what can envision maybe, kind of a kid getting, and what would they kind of get out of this, you know, in terms of, you know, the piece. I think they would look at those rhinestones first, and they would touch it, you know, and they would kind of, you know, have it twinkle back and forth, and maybe they would notice that some of them are kind of blue and whatnot. And just that kind of shiny paper like that, it's really fun. And I don't know, you can get a lot of dimension, and, you know, we're talking about just black and white ink here. So, you know, it's one of those things, you know, when you have kind of a mirrored surface like this, it becomes very interactive, and kind of the background, you know, like my hand or, you know, don't know if I can see it, like my face in there becomes kind of a part of the scene, you know, so any types of colors that you have being reflected in there are part of the color palette, you can say, you know, upon that specific viewing. So anything being reflected in there, yeah, that's a part of the scene. So if you're wearing a red shirt or whatever, then you would have some red tinges in here. So anyways, okay, fun stuff. Trying to decide if there's anything else that I would want in here. I guess I'm done. I don't know. Other things that, you know, we can possibly have done too are, you know, kind of some trees stamped in silver, you know, going up into the sky, and that would be fun. I think I've done that in some other scenes as well. But all right, Wolves under Orion. Hope you enjoyed it. Thanks for watching. If you like this video, hope you hit the like button. And if you have any questions or comments, please list it in the description or comments section. All right? Thanks so much for watching.